Sup y'all, SakerMedia here. Meet MinigamesMan, my minigame chunklocked Ironman. With this account, I will make my way through every minigame, filling collection logs, and leveling up in the surrounding area. Once I'm able to play a minigame, the space will be unlocked. These spaces are composed of chunks, which are 64 by 64 tile spaces, which make up the world of Gielinor. I'll be allowing for all content listed on the minigame section of the OSRS wiki, as well as skilling bosses like Wintertodt. I'll be using the Region Locker plugin in RuneLite, and available chunks will be shared using the Source Chunk website. So, what's my ultimate goal? To take on the most difficult minigames in RuneScape, the Colosseum and the Inferno. We will start in the chunk closest to Lumbridge's spawn point, Duel Arena. This minigame resides within these three chunks. Some notable things to do for the early game here are thieving men, buying items from Ali Morsane, and the dueling arena itself. While this minigame is useful for imbues, surge sacks, and rotten tomatoes, I am able to play this minigame, but I have no reason to do so yet. So after getting some of my first coins, I ventured over to the fishing trawler. I was able to complete a round of the minigame here, however, I couldn't get any fish from the big net. So now I have some coins and an axe in hand. I decided to make my way over to Castle Wars. I spent some time here cutting trees down, leveling my fire making, so that I can eventually make my way over to Wintertodt. While I'm here, I might as well show you a list of all the minigames that have been accessible since the very beginning. Before we get too much farther, here are some notes on how the rules work with questing and general travel. I'm allowed to move through grayed out chunks if I'm traveling from a minigame, doing a delivery task within a minigame, doing a clue, and when I'm finishing quests. Other than that, the areas are considered dead zones, and I'll not be allowed to interact with anything in them. There are a lot of minigames which require quests to unlock, and there are some minigame specific items which can be upgraded outside of the minigame area. These exceptions will be allowed, as the main focus is completing minigame content. The Tears of Guthix minigame actually is affected by your quest point level, so I'll eventually complete all quests to increase the minigame's timer. This does not mean that I'll unlock any chunks or items from quest. I will be completing some diaries because they are needed to upgrade some minigame items, such as the Pest Control armor. Underground is totally allowed, as only the surface is comprised of chunks. As long as I can enter from a minigame area or from a teleport, it's totally fair game. I also have access to Tai Bwo Wannai Cleaup area, because the only prerequisite is 10 wood cutting, which I've had for quite a while now. So collecting favor and the outfits here is cool and all, but I'm more focused on this shop here and what it unlocks. Pretty cool stuff in this shop. So in order for me to start Mahogany Homes, I need planks. Lucky for me, there's some planks behind the Barbarian Assault minigame. I also need a player-owned house. We're going to head over to the Varrock Estate Agent. While we're here, I'm going to get a saw. We're taking this one here. Shortly, we'll be unlocking this chunk because it's one of our red minigame icons for Mahogany Homes. Now that we own a house, we can start picking up contracts and starting up Mahogany Homes. This minigame is considered a delivery minigame, so I will be allowed to travel through the grayed out chunks in order to complete my construction tasks. Man, this is crazy good XP. I guess I'll grind this out whenever I can muster up the materials needed. I visited the Bertho Games room, and there's a dummy here which let me train my attack to 8, which kind of gets me thinking about what I should do for combat. I can explore this Falador chunk a little bit. There's actually a really good NPC to train on here, a chicken. Now that my stats are getting up a little bit, I can finally start looking at upgrades. Over here in Falador, there is a mace shop. I can slowly upgrade my maces all the way up to adamant. Which is, it's something, at least it's an upgrade. I've also gotten this helmet here, the Tyrus helmet, over at the fishing trawler from the charter traders. It's the equivalent of a steel helmet, although I don't really need the defenses for chickens. Grand Tree unlock alongside the Gnome restaurant will get me some easy cooking levels, but inside there are some pretty big upgrades like ranged weaponry, a weapon shop with a steel axe. Gnomeball, on the other hand, did not go so well. I can barely access Lumbridge goblins here, but technically I have a little space in this chunk to kill some. I did get an air talisman, which reminds me, I need to start the grind for Guardians of the Rift. I am doing some quests in the background here, so I'll just let you know when I've unlocked a minigame or have access to the items. I need a couple of XP lamps or XP tomes before I can start the Temple of the Eye quest. Unfortunately, I need a little bit of RNG on my side before I can get the actual rune crafting level. I'm still working on my combat stats. I was killing this drunken man upstairs of the bar in Falador, and I finally got some fishing bait. This is what I needed in order to catch a sardine, which is needed in order to start Gertrude's cat quest. The reason I need to do this quest is I will eventually have to complete the entire cat quest line in order to get the Rat Pits minigame. With this kill, I'm able to board the first boat over at Pest Control. Let's head there now. I needed 40 combat in order to enter the first boat over here. So this was my first attempt. As you can see, it did not go so well. But we did make it through after on the second round. It's a little too tough for me to complete at the moment consistently. I was looking at some quick upgrades and I saw that these guards here at the Game Room's castle can drop mithril plate bodies. And there it is, perfect. I actually have some defensive gear now. Maging is pretty terrible. I started to kill this necromancer over at the Tower of Life, and I got this fire staff so I can now autocast, as well as infinite fire runes. Another minigame I need to unlock is the Camdozaal area for the vaults. They are a minigame, but in order to play them you need shards, which burn in the furnace. So we're going to be able to do everything since it is technically underground, but there's plenty more to unlock in that area. Alright, that is quest completed. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is over here, the fishing spot where you can train your prayer. There is an available fishing net, which I didn't have access to before. I'm going to need it in order to consistently level my fishing level. Killing these golems down here has given me the rune essence I need to start Priest in Peril. This quest is the first steps needed to unlock all the Mauritania minigames. Now that my combat is much higher, I'm able to play in the Soul Wars minigame. Since the wall of this minigame creep into other chunks, I'm going to allow for the chunks just on the outside of the walls. My first round of Soul Wars was a bit rough. People saw a tasty little snack and PK'd me over and over and over. There is a cave which is attached to the Soul Wars wall just here on the map. Inside it has some creatures which will help me get over this early game hump. I can easily mage these fire giants. Hopefully we'll see a rune scimitar soon. Played a few rounds now here of Soul Wars, and here are my first spoils of war, the loot crates here at Soul Wars. Ooh, that is a ton of nature runes. Wow. Okay, this is really good. These spoils of war have also gotten me my first rune items, as you can see. These regular drops are pretty good for this account, to be honest. Over here in the desert, the Ali Morrisane shop has some lockboxes, which require a small Sudoku puzzle to open. This will give me access to most runes, which I didn't have access to before. Inside the cave here at Soul Wars, there's a pretty interesting chest that could be thieved. It has a very unique drop table. Might not be super helpful until I start leveling my thieving. We did manage to get a bird snare from that chest. I don't think there's even a way for me to get Hunter XP other than this location for right now. With that, we're going to get level 17 Hunter, which means we can now access Puro, the imp catching minigame. That's probably how we'll do most of our Hunter leveling on this account, since it is within a minigame, and I don't really have a whole lot of options for Hunter. Finally, I've made multiple trips here at the Fire Giants, and we just got a Rune Scimitar. Huge upgrade for the account. Iconic item. We are back at Barbarian Assault. We're just getting some fishing XP from the little fishing spot here. After a long grind, that is 35 fishing. This unlocks the skilling boss Tempoross. Forgot to record it, but we did get the hat over at Fishing Trawler, which is pretty huge. I'm definitely going to play this some more until we get the entire outfit. Before we do that, let's make our way over to Tempoross and get a couple rounds under our belt. So, as many of you may or may not know, Tempoross is not actually classified as a minigame. It's actually a skilling boss. For this series, I will allow for all minigames, skilling bosses, minigame-like activities, raids, and distractions and diversions listed through the OSRS wiki page on the minigame section. It's probably updated about 7 times since I started this account. So, when something is added or removed, I will let you know, and the chunks will be toggled on and off. I'm slowly working on that farming level 5 from ranking weeds. I'm getting really close to unlocking another minigame chunk, stealing artifacts at the Port Piscarillius docks. This unlocks quite a number of chunks, as well as some shops. I'm finishing a round of stealing artifacts here. It's very decent thieving XP, but I'm more interested in the items that I'll unlock from the shops. This store over here has red berries in it, which these are the first red berries I've had on the account, and it now means that I have every item required to complete Prince Ali Rescue. After I run through the little mazes in this minigame, these fruits are very special because when I pull one, I actually gain farming XP. These fruits can then be crushed into juice and turned in for massive thieving XP. The rest of this Alcarid chunk is also pretty big because it has things like a tanner and a crafting shop. I did unlock the Incamdo hammer while doing some AFK mining. I also got the Baronite head, as well as level 40 mining. So I had to be a little creative with this, but I didn't have access to a pie dish, and I did get a mud pie. It's a 1 in 100 chance from Baby Imps. Here I am throwing the pie. As you can see, it just drops an empty dish at the floor. So yeah, now that I have the pie dish, I can go ahead and start with some other quests. With that pie dish, I was able to complete the Giant Dwarf quest. This gives me access to a number of minigames within Keldagrim. The Keldagrim tasks, Blast Furnace, as well as the one I haven't unlocked yet, the Keldagrim Rat Pits. In Keldagrim, I was able to pick up a rune axe, which is pretty huge for mining. I did manage to finish a medium clue, as well as get an XP lamp from a genie. So first thing, we're going to get 10 rune crafting, so we can now finish the quest needed to start Guardians of the Rift. And now for the chest. Well, that's interesting. That's a small upgrade there. Didn't have a strength amulet before. Okay, so Guardians of the Rift. A pretty simple minigame. You collect essence, give it to the Guardian. You have to create your own runes within this minigame, and it's pretty great rune crafting XP. This spot will be my sole spot for training rune crafting. Here are some progression levels. I did manage to get to 50 all in this one trip. Alright, so I've also earned 50 pulls. Let's see what we get. Hey all, thank you for watching the first installment of MinigamesMan. This episode's pace was a bit slower, as I mostly focused on unlocking chunks so that my account could have a little bit of breathing room. If you're interested in full details, I've left some links down below in the comments. This is my first time video editing, so if there's anything I can do to help improve the viewing experience, please let me know. And if you want to see me grow as a creator, then please leave me a like and subscribe. It genuinely means a lot to me. This is my passion project, as it allows me to focus on my favorite part of RuneScape, the minigames. If you don't mind spoilers, come join me live over at twitch.tv/SakerMedia. Thank you for all your support and helping me grow. Episode 2 is currently being worked on, and I'm thinking about starting a series to help explain some of the less understood minigames. Alright, thank you so much. See you later.